Shall we get started? We do not have Brian for our productivity coaching update this morning, but some exciting things happening there. Pretty much every single agent that joins our office is going to have a call from him. Oh, there he is. Perfect. Perfect. Come on up. Grab a mic. That was perfect timing.
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Fantastic. Awesome. So did I miss anything? You guys already kicked off?
We're just getting started, and
Sweet.
Guy Calloway just walked in. You're right there, Guy.
Now we can officially begin because Guy's in the room. Awesome. Yeah. So I had sent out a video and a quick email yesterday that some of you guys might have seen about Bold coming up. So coaching program is doing fantastic. We've been growing. We've closed 10 already this month, which is right on pace with where we were at last month. So 20 closings in the past, 60 days, which is fantastic. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm hoping we keep that trend. But the challenge I wanted to issue to you guys is to really think about if there's anyone in your downline or anybody in the coaching program currently that you guys would like to sponsor for Bold, because I would like to see a lot of participation from that group. We've got 35 coaching clients currently. We have 3 that are signed up for Bold currently. So there's a huge opportunity for them to grow their business. And with the options of the market centers presenting, you guys can do that with just having that initial 250 sponsorship, letting them choose option 2. So we're really putting the earnest on them to participate, graduate, get 5 deals under contract, and get into production. The difference, I think, with sponsoring someone from our group is they already have a system of accountability and a system of tracking. They're going into Bold already knowing how to track their numbers. It's just going to be at a higher level. So I foresee that we're going to have a lot better outcome compared to a typical new agent for agents that are in the program, especially if it's somebody that's in your downline. That's a win-win all around. So if everybody here sponsored one person, that would be 18 people that we could add to the Bold roster, which would be fantastic.
Well, and I mean, how awesome is it that basically they can sponsor somebody knowing that they're going to be paid back in those closings potentially for.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you've ever taken Bold. So basically, as someone is new, when they take Bold for the first time, in their closings, they get paid back on their first 2 closings through those transactions. If you want to make that clearer.
Yeah, here, it should be on. No, I need the battery. Okay, so we have different payment plans for our Bold. So the first one is option 1, where the agent pays $7.99 right up front. If they have 2 closings after Bold to start by a certain date, then we'll reimburse them, and we actually pay them $800 compared to $7.99. They make $1 off of us. The second option is the agent puts $250 down, and then there's certain criteria that they have to complete in order to get the rest. We pay the full amount and they pay us $250. So it'd have to be a KPA validation. They have to add 100 new contacts into their command and add them all to smart plans. And what was the last criteria, Nicole, off the top of my head? Oh, what? No, the criteria.
The last criteria for option 2.
Yeah. So there's 3 specific criteria. I don't have it in front of me.
Was it 5 under contract by
5 contracts written?
Oh, there it is.
Option 2. Yeah. That's the other one.
Option 2.
KPA validation, this 100 contacts in command with smart plans. Yeah. So if they get 5 under contract by December, then they'll get it, the rest forgiven. The other third option is if you and a guest, an outside agent, you bring one and you both graduate, then both of you guys will be free. So those are the different options. So when Brian is talking about paying the $250, you could pay the agent's $250 portion and they would complete the rest. And if they don't complete the rest of the activities, then they would be responsible for the remaining. But it's at least getting their foot in the door and they have the other opportunities to complete and get it for free. Yes, Paulina, hold on.
For the guest option, if for some reason you graduate but the guest doesn't, are you responsible for both people or just yourself?
That's kind of the tricky part because you have to graduate and the guest would have to graduate. So either the guest would have to give us their card on file and they'd have to agree that if they didn't graduate, we would charge them.
Okay.
Or then maybe you as the agent would cover that portion. It just kind of depends where the relationship.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Whenever I brought a guest, I always just assumed that they were going to graduate, but if they didn't, I would be willing to pay theirs. That's what I always did.
And so our commitment for Bold is 40 people from our market center. We're also talking to Joplin and Branson as well. Right now we have 30. So we're 10 short of our goal. For those of you that have been Bold for a while, the minimum requirement to even have a Bold is 40 people. And we haven't had Bold since the last time we had Bold was March 2020, right before the world shut down. And so we're hoping that we can exceed that number. We'll actually be off site again at the RC Event Center on Battlefield. So it'll be bigger than this room as well. So our capacity is right at 120. So we can fit a lot more than 40 people.
And our hope would be, as leaders, as people that are invested in the market center, as people that have experienced what Bold is, most of you, to be able to pass that along. And I've loved Brian's heart behind it. When we met for the productivity coaching meeting, he was like, man, what if we were able to get our ALC to commit to helping one person go? If we did that, we would exceed our 40, be closer to filling the room, which is what makes a great Bold, is having a great full room.
I've already personally sponsored one agent that's in coaching and another agent that's on my team, plus myself. So, I mean, I think Bold is fantastic. As uncomfortable as it makes me every time I take it, right?
I know.
So do we have any more coaching updates? Because if not, we have our Bold coach on here to tie in with Bold.
Yep.
Nope, nothing else.
Okay.
That's the main
Awesome.
focus.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right. So we've got James Farron on here. James, are you here? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you all hear me?
We can. We are excited to have you on. And yeah, so maybe we'll just let you take it away unless there's anything you have for me right away.
Awesome. Well, first I want to check how much time do I have? Because I want to be super honoring of your agenda.
Like we had mentioned, just 20 to 25 minutes would be
Perfect.
excellent.
I can work with exactly that. And guys, first of all, I want to acknowledge how incredible your leadership team is. I've done about 55 Bold launches over the past 4 years, and I'll tell you, this leadership team is powerful. And I know you guys experience this on a day-to-day basis, and yet, little secret, not all teams are this awesome. So enjoy it and appreciate it to the best of your ability. And when I was talking to them and I was kind of processing through what could add value to your world, would it be okay if I don't just talk about Bold? Because I want to be sure that for the 20 minutes that I have, y'all, that it's a valuable use of your time. Because when I was processing through it, I was thinking back to a conversation I had with Gary Keller about 1.5 years ago. And we were in a group setting, and I asked Gary, I said, Gary, what do you think is the one thing such that by doing that, everything else would be easier or unnecessary for agents in KW? And I'd just love to know, what do you think his answer was? Just go ahead and shout it out. Let me know what you think his answer was. The one thing that agents should be doing that would make their job easier if they were to do it.
Lead generation.
Lead generation. P.S. That was my guess. I said lead generation. He said, no, that's what most people think. And yet what he said was time management. Because in reality, Gary says, I am most concerned about agents on the ALC. When I think about all the agents company-wide, the agents I am most concerned about are mega agents and ALC members. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, because they have the most to lose. You know, it's not like new agents who, okay, maybe they've got a backup plan or you know, somebody who is transitioning into a full-time career where if it didn't work out, they could go in a different direction. You guys are fully vested in real estate being your primary source of income to support your lifestyle. And he says, if things don't work out, then everything can go sideways in their lives. So I worry about them the most. And in reality, when I talk to ALCs, and I run a mega team, we'll do about 150 transactions this year. We'll close about somewhere between 60 to 65 million. And the challenge that I experience is burnout. You know, the challenge that my wife experiences is burnout and fatigue. Raise your hand if any of you have experienced or have felt fatigue at some point over the past 6 months. Yes, guys, this is something that every single one of us has to work through and think, how can I just be a little bit better? And when I think through it, I go back to Stephen Covey. Have any of you read a book by Stephen Covey, or are you familiar with him? Okay, I see some heads nodding. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a book that changed my life when I was really taught and coached around how to utilize that book at a high level. In fact, I'm going to do a quick screen share and process through some notes that I took on this. Is this, hold on, is this showing up on your, no, I don't want that. I want, wait for it. The anticipation mounts.
Right.
That's the bad boy we're looking for. These are some notes that I took on the 7 habits of highly effective people. And we're just going to go through the first 3 really quickly. And if you guys want to take notes, that's great. I think it will be a valuable use of your time when you process through this, because he says the number one thing that we can do to avoid burnout, to avoid fatigue, to just avoid that malaise that we can oftentimes experience in our real estate world is to be proactive. And he says when we're being proactive, you know, we're being reactive. As opposed to being reactive, we're able to be proactive. You know, we're in a place where we can be response-able, as opposed to, you know, just being responsible. We're being response-able. We are able to truly think through what is the best thing that I can do to move forward given the circumstances that I've been dealt. And number 2, he says, begin with the end in mind. And this is goal-oriented. And I know you guys on the ALC are likely highly goal-oriented, and yet oftentimes are we truly thinking through what is the end result that I desire, and are the habits that I'm putting forth on a daily basis supporting that goal that I have in mind? And it comes down to the one thing, you know, same thing that Gary uses is put first things first. What is the one thing such that by doing that, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And since we're talking about time management, Covey gives us an amazing exercise called going through the 4 quadrants of time management. And maybe some of you are familiar with this, maybe some of you aren't. And yet this is what it looks like. He breaks up our time into 4 different quadrants where across the 2 rows, we've got our important activities and our non-important activities. And then across the 2 columns, he has those things that are urgent and those things that are not urgent in our world. Now, when we're talking about urgency, my friends, I don't want to get confused, because we are saying that that urgency is placed on you by some outside force. Okay, this isn't talking about internal urgency or getting through your list. It is, okay, there are things that have to get done due to circumstances that are put upon you. And so in quadrant 1, P.S., this is where a lot of you exist, and I've existed here just to get things done. Guys, this is where we have important and urgent things to do. You know, as real estate agents, we have deadlines. We've got responsibilities. Sometimes we have a listing where a pipe burst, and it is important and urgent that we deal with that quickly before it floods the main floor of our listing. So those are the fire drills. Those are the deadlines. It says, boom, has to happen. Boom, has to happen. And, you know, you can go on a constant clip nailing out those fire drills. And my friends, if you had a day, and this question I'm going to ask you, if you had a day where all you were doing was dealing with fire drills and constantly dealing with the deadlines that are coming upon you, how are you going to feel at the end of that day?
Yeah, exhausted.
Exhausted. Yeah, you're going to feel burnout. You're going to feel exhausted, constant fatigue, because guys, constant activity is draining, not just on our physical selves, on our mental selves as well. So he has a goal for us to move into quadrant 2. However, we're going to circle back to that in a second. Let's jump down to this area down here, which are the non-important yet urgent things. Now, non-important and urgent. Guys, this is where this little beast comes into play, where our phone starts dinging at us on a constant basis, where our emails pop up, where Facebook messages pop into our mind. And every time that phone dings, it's like a Pavlovian response to say, hey, this is important, pay attention to me. And that urgency is essentially being placed on you from the sender to you. And you, when you choose to check that, you are saying, yes, this all of a sudden has become urgent in my world. And yet these aren't important tasks. Guys, this is where interruptions happen on a consistent basis. Covey calls this the Quadrant of Deception, because there's a lot of things happening, right? There's a lot of urgent things that are coming up in your world, and yet they typically are not important. And if we're constantly living in quadrant 3, guys, this is where we lose our focus. This is where we have short-term focus. This is where, when we're at home with our kids, when we're at home with our families, we lose that quality time with each other because we're falling into distractions. Now, some of you might know, some of you may not. How long does it take to move from the task you're working on to a distraction? How long does it take to get back onto that task you were focused on? Anybody know that ballpark time? Out of the one thing?
Anybody? An hour, he said.
It's a good guess, because constantly we're going to have lots of interruptions that happen, and yet typically it takes about 15 to 20 minutes. So every single interruption, it takes 15 or 20 minutes to get back on task. And it could feel like an hour when we've got an interruption that leads to another interruption that leads to another interruption. When we allow that to happen, we can lose our hours very, very quickly. And at the end of the day, we're like, man, I was so busy. And yet you oftentimes still have that weight on your shoulders of, well, did I really accomplish anything today? You know, was I busy, or was I truly being productive in what I had chosen to do at the beginning of the day? Oftentimes the answer is no, because when we have those interruptions and when we have these fire drills, guys, our brains are not meant to take that load of capacity on a consistent basis. And so what happens is our brain just says, yo, I need a break. I need a moment to step away from what I'm doing and just have a moment of mental ease. And this is where we fall into quadrant number 4, which is our time wasting category, where you're so busy, you're so exhausted, where you'd say, all right, I'm just going to jump on Facebook real quick and see if anybody liked that post. I want to see if anybody commented on that post. And then you say, well, let me see what everybody else is doing. You start scrolling. And then all of a sudden, like 30 minutes later, you're wondering how you got caught up watching a video of a raccoon fighting a squirrel. I don't know how you got there. And yet that you just fell into this wormhole of Facebook or YouTube, whatever it is, that just can become a constant time waster. And there's no judgment here, guys. This is just how our brains are wired to work. And yet what Covey says is that now that we are aware, now that we're aware that when we get overwhelmed in quadrant 1 or quadrant 3, that we tend to fall into quadrant 4, we have a choice to either stay there or jump up to what's called category 2, which is the growth quadrant. My friends, this is where you have education. This is where you have reading. This is where you exercise. This is family time that you have together, meditation. My friends, the best version of you lives in quadrant 2, that growth area. And it's oftentimes the quadrant that we give ourselves the least amount of time and attention on. Because all of you clearly have a very high entrepreneurial ceiling, right? You're all very successful at what you do. And the question is, what would it take to move from your entrepreneurial best to your purposeful best? What systems, models, tools, people, ideas need to come into your world to bring you from where you are to where you desire to be? And so when I was coached on this, I was asked, and I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. What are 10 things that you would put on your growth quadrant? When you see yourself slipping, what are 10 things that you can do to slip back into a productive mindset? Now, for me, like if I just go out for 10 minutes and take a walk, I just get out into fresh air and I exercise a little bit, my brain gets refocused on what needs to happen, and I can continue in a positive direction. You could also say, okay, what do I need to do to be, focused consistently on what will grow my business? And guys, this is where lead generation lives. Lead generation exists in quadrant number 2, because in reality, lead generation, no one is bringing that urgency to you. No one is bringing that to you. It's not like, you get a call and somebody says, hey, Coach James, listen, this is Patty, from your database. And I know you're supposed to contact me every single quarter. And, I haven't heard from you for a couple of quarters. So I just want to circle back with you. That does not happen in our world, right? We need to bring that urgency on ourselves. So when it says not urgent, realize that urgency needs to be derived from you. So that is a phenomenal place of growth in your world. Another one for me is just having time with my girls. I've got a incredible 7-year-old and an amazing 3-year-old little girl. And when I can connect with them and just play with them for 10 minutes, it gets my mind off of all of that, hazy fuzz. And so when I'm able to have that time, I can jump back into my activities and be hyper focused because my growth bucket has been filled. My relational bucket has been filled. And that's what we're looking for. So what are the 10 things for you that when you slip and you see yourself, man, I'm getting burned out, man, I've got these constant interruptions. You're like, man, I'm falling into my Angry Birds mode, or, I'm going into my time wasting apps. What can we do to switch cost that and have essentially a break in the state of your thinking to choose to move to growth? Because awareness is the first step to actual change in your world. Awareness is that first step. Now that we know what this system is and what this pattern is, how can we choose to break out of it? So that we don't just live a life by default, we choose to design what our days look like on a consistent basis. And my friends, we're going to skip, the highly effective habits 4 through 6, and we're going to jump to number 7, which down here says, habit number 7, sharpen the saw. What are you doing to sharpen the saw? And Covey gives us an incredible illustration. He says, imagine a guy who's walking down a pathway in a forest, right? He's walking down this pathway and he bumps into a lumberjack who is just sawing, right? He's got one of those saws going back and forth and back and forth, and he's sweating and he's sawing and he's sweating and he's sawing, and yet he's not making any progress. He's not getting any grip on that tree to bring it down. And so the guy on the path says, hey, yo, lumberjack, go sharpen your saw and come back, and you'll have better luck cutting down that tree. And the lumberjack looks back at him and he says, I'm just too busy. I'm just too busy to sharpen my saw. I got to get this tree down. And my friends, my question for you is, what is your saw right now? What is that tree that needs to come down? And yet you're so busy right now being working on your business or working in your business that you can't focus on working on your business. What is the one thing that you're so busy doing that you don't give your family the time that they truly deserve? Where is that growth opportunity? Because we all have them, my friends. We all have gaps in our world, and we need to be conscious in what choices we're making to continually sharpen that saw. Now, clearly, as a bold coach, I'm thinking that bold is that best opportunity to get our mind in the right place for success. And yet my goal today is not to drag you guys into the bold room. That's not it. My goal is to simply ask the question, what other course exists in Keller Williams that touches on all 4 tenets of what the ALC is responsible for? The productivity, the profitability, the growth, and the culture of a market center. Gary Keller says there's none. The only one that focuses on all 4 stones and pillars of the ALC is bold. And my hope is that you as leaders in your market center don't just lead from the front and say, hey, you guys over there, go do bold. It's that you choose to lock arm in arm together and say, this is important to us. These are the tenets that we hold to be incredibly valuable, and we're going to continue to progress forward as a leadership team. And so I'd love to know who is currently signed up for bold, or will be signed up for Bold by the end of the day today?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5.
Okay, we've got 5. That's phenomenal. And for the rest of you, I would just ask a question to yourself of what is holding me back? And I know Bold can be tough. I know that, and you may be at a place in your business where you say, I don't need Bold anymore. I'll tell you, I had a conversation with Mark King last week, and the president of our company, and he said, Bold is the #1 growth area that I experienced that led me to where I am today. He says, I took Bold 13 times, and it's the #1 thing I attribute to my success and growth in this company. And I can tell you for myself, I started taking Bold about 7 years ago, and I hadn't even sold a home. I hadn't sold a home. I hadn't even purchased a home for myself. And yet 12 Bolds later for me and 50 times coaching Bold, I now have a team that does 150 homes. We'll do about 60, 65 million this year, 150 homes. I own 50 rental properties and 2 on the beach, because that's the life by design that we've chosen for my family. And I don't let anything stand in the way of what I choose for my life to be designed like. Now I think through, where would you want the most growth in your world? Because this isn't all about production. While my Bolds tend to be some of the most productive, I expect my agents to get 20 to 21 deals per Bold launch. And yet my goal is to transform the way you view yourself and transform the way that you approach your life. So if you have a super productive Bold and you get 21 transactions, that's great. And yet I don't feel I would have done my job as your Bold coach if we didn't truly experience that transformation that you deserve, that your family deserves. And so if you've got everything figured out and you're operating at 100%, that's awesome. You're the first person ever. And yet I know that I've got room to grow, and my guess is that many of you might as well. And I'd love to partner with you over the next 7 weeks, the next couple of months together, to find out where you choose to grow and build a path to make that a reality. So my friends, I'd love to know what questions you have for me as your Bold coach. What can I do to help clarify any points of what this Bold will look like moving forward?
Any questions? Oh. Nicole's going to run the mic here. Any questions about Bold this time around?
Hey, James, can you please explain first step, since this is a little bit different than normally?
Yeah, so normally, first step to Bold would be an entire day. Normally it would be a solid 6 hours of Bold content. This one's going to be a little bit different. We're just going to have 2 hours together. So it is going to be action-packed. It is not going to be a ton of selling to get into Bold. It's going to be content-rich and value-rich content to put stuff into action right away. We had a chance to look over what the Bold content's going to be this round. And I'm viewing it as like the all-star cast of Bold content, because it goes back to a lot of the old content from, when I first started in Bold 5-6 years ago. And yet they've also brought in a lot of the elements that have been highly effective in Bold 2.0. So it's the best of all the worlds. I'm really excited about this launch.
No, we're really excited to have you here. Anybody have a comment?
Okay, well, how about this? For those of you that did not raise your hand, who in your market center will you choose to have stand in your place? If you're not going to be there, who are you going to take a stand for in your market center that could use that growth and transformation? You may have it all figured out, and that's awesome. And yet, my guess is that there are many people in your market center who don't have that same level of comfort. So let's find those people, bring them into the room, and give them a chance for growth. Give them a chance for change.
Huge.
Good. Tim, Rachel, anything else I can do for you today?
No, we really appreciate your time this morning. I really thank you for going through that. I mean, Stephen Covey, you can't really go wrong. Those are great notes. I loved it. I hope we all took some screenshots from that. I mean, it is one of the direct injections into our market center for profitability, for growth, for profit share. It really does touch on almost every single aspect of our ability to be successful as a real estate brokerage, let alone our people and caring about our people. I mean, the only reason numbers are important is because they represent our people. And that's what this is. So I would very much challenge everybody in here that if you yourself are not going, commit to at least sending someone, because it's a direct investment. How often are we looking at, people investing in us? How dare we, not invest in ourselves or invest in someone else? That's just who we are as a company.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a conviction moment almost when you're talking about how Keller Williams provides training and it's such a big part of our lives. What does it look like if we're not going?
Yeah. Well, and you can count on me. I'm going to sponsor somebody as well. I'm going to find somebody that I want to go, and I'm going to pay for them to go as well.
When you were talking about distractions, one thing that hit me is, I don't know if you guys have watched The Social Network on Netflix, and the constant distractions of what Facebook or Instagram is doing, of saying, oh, you put your phone down for 3 seconds, let me give you a notification so you look at it again. That is the purest form of distraction, and how can we alleviate that out of our lives?
No, that was huge. That was huge. Mark has a comment real quick.
Prior to listening to you this morning, James, my coach had red lighted me on doing anything training wise, just because I want to do. I've got so many different things going on. She's like, I don't want you to do anything else, and so I came to the conclusion that I wasn't going to come to Bold this year. I've been to 7 or 8 of them, and listening to you have been to 12. It's like, what's 8? I got 4 more to go.
You got 4 more to go.
I got 4 more to go. And, the previous Bolds, the first Bold I went to was Russ Stewart. And a lot of the Bold coaches are rah, rah, rah. It's all that, get pumped up and things like that. But listening to you, I loved your content. It wasn't from rah, rah, rah. I mean, it was just educational. And I really like that. So thanks for being here this morning. And I'm signing up today.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
Mark.
Brother. Hey, I appreciate that. I think that you are all capable and competent people to make your own decisions. I'm not here to sell anyone. I merely want to give you the opportunity to see, okay, is there a place to grow? If there is, I promise you, we have one of I've never met an agent that's been through my Bold that has said, I regret the time that I invested. And if you're the first, come talk with me. We'll find a way to make recompense for that. And yet, if you feel that you've got room to grow, take a chance on yourself and see if this is worth the investment for you. Come to First Step and see if it's a fit for you. My friends, I'm so appreciative of you. If you guys, Rachel, Tim, if you guys would share my cell number with them, and if they have any questions or anything that they don't want to talk about in front of the group, feel free to circle back with me directly, and we'll just have a one-to-one conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, James. Appreciate
I
you.
appreciate you.
Let's
Thanks
give
so
him
much.
a round of applause. Awesome.
Thanks, gang.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance really quick, and then we'll get going. Austin, would you start us off? That'd be awesome. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. We ready?
Yep. I was going to write. Go ahead. I was going to write his phone number up there.
Oh, yeah. It is, we will absolutely. I think we've sent it out via email a few times, but there are many different changes that Bold has made over the last, oh, there you go. Yeah, it's shorter. First Step is not nearly as long and kind of droning on as it used to be. And it's free for First Step. So I would say another thing you could do, if you're not going to sponsor somebody, get 2 or 3 people in that First Step room. That would be huge. As ALC, buying in with that would be massive, because then his style, like Mark said, isn't as rah-rah, and that might attract some people that didn't like it before being too rah-rah, because I totally understand that. All right.
Okay, so we'll move on to the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes and submit for approval? Okay, second?
Doug.
Awesome, thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, vital sign scorecard. Here we go. So at the end of August, which is funny because normally this is kind of more in the middle of the month and we're about to transmit and give you September's numbers, but yeah. So for August, at the end of that, we had 402 agents. So we have officially crossed that 400 threshold, which is super exciting. When we look at our vital sign scorecard, again, 78 out of 100, we're actually one of the top performing market centers with this score.
Yep.
We were actually on our regional call this last week, and we're one of, out of all of our 31 market centers, we're within the top 5 with our vital signs. So C+, C's get degrees, right? And we're still doing great.
Yes.
When we reviewed our vital signs as a leadership team, we were looking at it. The biggest areas of opportunity that we're about to hit out of 5 out of 5 is our smart plans. More of our agents are engaging in smart plans and using those. And I think we only need 4 more percentage increases to get a 5 out of 5. What that looks like.
And yet I don't want that to be like the limiting factor. It's not like we would stop there because only 35% would really change a lot. Yet ultimately, eventually getting to a 70% of, things like that, a 50% of our agents using smart plans would drastically change the game. So
our regional goal is for every market center to get at least 50%.
Yep.
So that's where we're working towards and to build that up. Agents with a downline, the third item, that has increased by 1%. So that's always good to look at and track. Agents with a closed unit this month, 4 out of 10. Again, that just depends. So for instance, let's say Amy and Tim on Amy's team, Amy will take the unit and Tim gets paid out commission. Well, Amy will have the closed unit. So it depends on how that is being paid out. So there is just some structures and within teams of how that would look and how that percentage would change. Same thing with agents with a listing, and that's where that is coming from. Market center performance. And we've talked about this before with ALC Capper percent growth and ALC GCI growth percent. When you look at everybody on our ALC, Charles, Brent, Wem, they all have significant others here on the ALC, Elise Riley, where their commission and profit share, all of that is running through their spouse for profit share reasons. So that's where that will affect our numbers as well. This is also being ran through the last rolling 12 months for our data. One thing that's really exciting is if we have a profit percentage or profit amount of 35,000 for September till the rest of the year, we will break for the first time over $500,000 given back in profit share. First time we've ever done that. Last time we came close, we were at 498,000. So hoping, and we should be able to cross that threshold, but that's something super exciting that we're looking at. Right now, oh, go ahead. I believe that would have been 2018. Yep, if I was correct. And we can actually, hold on, I can tell you.
You can tell you.
Let me look.
On the multi-year trends, it actually shares what the profit share number was.
Profit share. Would have been owner profit. 498 was 2018. Yep. So that's where we're at with that. Other than that, listings, we have taken 268 listings so far this month. What we're seeing is that's going down a little bit. Like last September was 335, and units we're at 427 closed units, and it's not on your sheet. It's just something that we just referenced when we're on this page. What we have seen the last couple of months is our unit numbers have been lower than previous months in years past or previous months this year. However, our company dollar percentage is outperforming company dollar before. So we may be reducing the number of units, but we're still able to receive more company dollar coming in from agents producing transactions. So it'll be interesting seeing how that plays out for the rest of the year. On our next page, agents added and agents removed. So this is everybody that has joined and has left in the month of August. We are getting towards the end of the year, so that is going, we're going to see an influx of people leaving potentially in the business because it's board renewal time. So we always are trying to be proactive. So starting next month, that's where Nicole and the rest of the team will be calling our roster, just saying, hey, preparing for board renewals. You might want to start putting money aside for whenever that large fee comes up. We will see a lot of agents though go into referral or just get out of the business in that manner. So either towards the end of the year or the beginning of the year, that's where we can see those numbers change.
And you can see those being reflected in August's numbers as well. I think it kind of starts now and really heads into the end of the year. So, yeah.
Any questions on this page? Cool. Okay. Multi-year trends. Like I said, 402 agents officially at the end of August. When we flip over to page 3, closed units.
Yeah.
This is where we have seen, so right now, year to date, we still have a 16% growth in closed units. However, when we look at September of 2020, we closed 576 units. And as of yesterday, we closed 427. So you can see the huge difference there of what that looks like. And when we're looking, and last year it was a little weird, right? Because there was not really a back to school season where the market kind of slowed down. So we're still seeing that progress into September of last, and 576 units in September, which is not normal. So we're kind of experiencing that normal ebb and flow of the season this year. And last year was kind of an anomaly for that.
Yeah, well, we had that stall and then we had that roar back within the following months of the year last year. So
when we flip over to the next page back behind for closed sales volume through the month of August, and if you've walked into our leadership team above our whiteboard, you'll see the big number up there. That's how much closed sales volume we have closed by the end of every month after we transmit. So that number is getting updated. Just a kind of a reminder of how close are we to $1 billion. And so we have closed 875 million in closed sales volume, and we're projected to hit over $1 billion faster than what we did last year. So we are on the lookout for that.
which by percentage growth, just pointing that out, it's the largest growth ever in our history. So it's extremely exciting and very, very cool.
And we're obviously seeing that in the market with the prices that we're having right there. Yep,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Hold on. Let me get you a mic.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know where to pull it.
Is that number the GCI divided by 0.03?
The closed sales volume?
Yes.
No.
That is literally what the volume of the house is. Are
Right.
you talking about adjusted volume?
Well,
Just the
when you
sales
look at
volumes.
the one that has the graph on it, we're over $1 billion already from the board.
Oh, the
Market share total.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering why that number is so different.
One of the reasons it could be
That actually could be forecasting this month's, because we are at the end of this month, it could be showing.
No, this was August numbers.
Oh, okay.
So there's a couple of factors where it could change the number and there could be discrepancies. Let's say you close out a home on the MLS and you put the correct sales price, but then you don't update it on your commission, the correct sales price. So there could be a difference in that. Because the broker metrics is being pulled from the MLS, the multi-year trends is being pulled through what is submitted on commissions for that way, updated for that.
It's like over 15% different though. I mean, that's a huge number.
Massive difference.
The only other factor I could see, I'm trying to think what would be.
Correct.
Mhm. Yeah, but so is our closed sales volume on this one. The top down is paid on volume, where that's the equalizer. I would have to look into that.
But
I don't know if I
it's
could give
not a
you a
big deal.
definite, and
It's
that's
just
a
such a
great
huge number.
observation.
That
Maybe it's last 12 months.
On the graph it is, you're right. Yeah, on the graph it's last 12
Okay.
months.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
makes
that's what
sense
it
then.
is, because
Yeah.
we had such a big the last quarter of 2020 was massive. I'm like, we saw over 550 pretty much consistently for deals and volume. So that's probably why that is.
Okay, so then page 5, we're looking at our listings taken. So for the month of September last year, we took 335 listings. And like I mentioned, month to date, which is almost to the end of the month, we're at 268 listings taken. So you can see the wide range in that. We are down 3.1% year to date for our listings. And as a region, the region and KWRI as a whole are down with our listings. So when we looked at our regional numbers, I can pull those up really quick.
And while she pulls that up, I would just like to say that a lot of that has to do with sales price. When you have that much increase in sales price, you're going to see, this is a lead indicator. I don't know if you guys pay attention too much to your lead indicators, but what we're seeing is a forecast of the future when you look at listings taken. So you look at, when we saw 235 for September last year, we knew the next month was going to look a certain way. When we see 268, we're seeing a lead indicator of what's going to be for the remainder of the year.
So our region, again, 31 offices spread out between Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, Iowa, and Nebraska. For listings taken year to date, our region is down 6.1%. We are down 3.1%. Month over month, the region was down 2.7%, and we are down 5.6% in our listings taken. The next interesting metric to look at, though, is we take the listings, but do we sell the listings? And that's going to be page 6 when you flip it over. So listings sold. So how many of the listings are we taking that we're selling? And we're actually up
Yep.
year to date with 12.7%. And the region is up as well at 14.6% year to date. And then those last year was 270 of those listings that we took, we sold. We will see a difference in that when it comes to pricing the listing correct and how quickly it sells and when it's going to sell. And that is something that we're thinking about training moving forward.
Yep.
What does it look like for pricing the listing? And like, for example, 3 months ago, the house across the street from me, went for like 190,000. The house right next to me right now is listed for 168,000. So just think about that difference of how much it's changed. And it's the house across the street is a little bit bigger, but not much. And so just seeing that difference in the price point of when that market was, and I'm pretty sure, Elise, we saw it. Elise I had a garage sale that day when she was out showing the house. So so it was the one next to me. I mean, she mops her garage floor. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy.
my
So
gosh.
right?
Oh, thanks, Web.
Yeah.
Who would not do
She's
that?
best neighbor, but it's always a terrible factor. Yeah. So just seeing the difference of what that looks like and for future training coming along. And then like Tim was mentioning, a lead versus lag indicator. Lead indicator is how many listings we're taking. Listings control the market. So what are we projecting in the next 60 to 90 days? When you flip over to page 7, the next leading indicator is also our contracts written. So how many of those contracts written are we expecting to close? And right now we're up 15.7% in contracts written. For our region, we are up 12.9%. And KWRI as a whole is up 9.1%.
So in the team meeting, we talked about some of these numbers just because when you look at us versus the KWRI, Keller Williams as a whole operates a certain way. We operate within that same model, but our area, we are performing at a much higher percentage on every metric pretty much. I think there was only one that we weren't quite a bit higher. So very, very powerful. These are outrageous numbers.
Then the next page, our average sales price. So our average sales price for year to date is $226,000 for our market center. Last September, the average sales price for that month was $201,000. And again, you can just see the fluctuations. Every month is different depending on what we're selling during that month, but the average for the year is $226,000.
Up 18%, or almost 19%.
So the total 226,000 is the average for the year. But during September of last year, the average sales price was $201,000.
Well, and a lot of this is due to something I'm seeing also in California. They're very reflective right now, is that you have the luxury market booming. The $800,000 listings, and yeah, she's shaking her head. I agree. I'm nodding. I would say that is, we're seeing $1 million sales on the regular. I mean, our average sales price jumped in California up to about 950 in my area, which has never happened before. And here we're seeing, 850, 900 homes coming on the market much more frequently. People are seeing that they really it can sell for what they wanted to sell for 2-3 years ago, pretty easily. Yeah.
150%. Wow.
That's impressive. That's a great metric. Wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's exactly right.
And with interest rates.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Yep. No. That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Rachel was right on the money when she's talked about how the next thing we really need to start teaching is pricing correctly and pricing to the current market, because the sellers have a lag. They're a lag indicator. The seller's mindset is things are still insane and we can pretty much list for anything we want and somebody's going to come in and buy it. That is going to go away very quickly. That's right. That's right. Yeah, I would say two months behind.
Yep.
I have been watching that a lot. Yes. No, you're absolutely right, Paulina. I'm sorry.
Liliana.
I always do that. Sorry, Liliana. I do it for her too, so don't. It's super weird.
The next thing I wanted to touch on was company dollar. So that will be on page 12. So we're seeing a 9.6% increase in company dollar come through. And like I said, our units have been decreasing and our company dollar has been increasing month over month in August. We may have closed less units. However, our company dollar percentage was up 28% in that month. And right now, our region for company dollar is up 2.8%, and Keller Williams as a whole is up 10.8%. So we're seeing a trend in that, and it's more so, how are we helping the skinny middle, the meaty middle, whatever the term is, continue to grow their business as well. We're also wanting to focus on that along with our cappers.
Yep. Where are you looking?
Paid on volume.
Oh.
Yep. Point of view.
Point of view.
And yeah, like I mentioned, profit share, page 17. The end of August, we've given back $327,000 to our agents, which is a 38.3% increase. And then I don't have that for our region or KWRI. Month over month, though, it was a 30% increase from last time. So.
Well, and I'd like to point out that based on our number of agents, if you look back, you see these outrageous percentages back in 2013, 14, we're much smaller back then. And so for us to be able to profit share based on our agent count now, if we're able to grow by 30%, it's actually a much greater impact than it seems like, even though those are bigger numbers back then. That level of being at 400 agents plus is something to take into consideration. That level of growth being as big as we are now in comparison is huge.
But when we also talk about profit share, another thing that's tied into it is our expenses. So this year's been different. We haven't had our large training expenses. We haven't been traveling to family reunion or mega camp. So we're not also having those high dollar expenses that we would normally have. So when it gets back to the normal, how do we make sure we build a moat around our business and our finances so we still have those opportunities while still growing profit share? So that is kind of a big factor. And we're not also having to travel. I mean, before COVID, on the leadership team, we were traveling to Kansas City for a regional meeting once a month. Sometimes it was 2 days in a row. So that automatically meant hotels, things like that. So it will be interesting once we get back to maybe normalcy next year, if we go to family reunion for that matter, of how do we still protect? And so that means we have to grow our agents. We still have to grow and bring more agents into the market center as well to get more company dollar coming in. Okay, that is it on multi-year trends. The next thing, market share. With this is our broker metrics. I believe all of you receive it on a monthly basis after we transmit and we send it out. Are you guys still finding those reports valuable? Okay, cool.
Those are huge.
Just making sure, because no one ever really responds, which is fine. I don't want 20 million emails, but I just want to make sure that it's still providing some sort of value to you, and I'm not just pulling them to pull them for you.
Those are awesome, Rachel. You did a
So,
great job at that.
When we're looking at our market share, this is something we want to, and again, I'm referring back to last month. So for Keller Williams as a whole, our percentage has stayed the same for units for 12.0% market share, and our days on market actually went down 1 day. So instead of 38, it's now 37.
Great job.
Yeah. Other than that, there hasn't been any big changes along the way.
No.
And you'll see kind of the last 3 companies, they just kind of switch spots here or there because of the
How close they are.
how close they are in their percentage.
Yep.
And again, the biggest way to increase our market share is to take away from the other bigger producers and to just transfer that market share percentage over, and it flip-flops it. And if you look right next, it's always great to see our Tri-Lakes people right next to us in terms of leading with the market share. So we're top 3 for that way. It's kind of staying the same. I think every month it's kind of either bouncing one percentage or the other. I will say that number 1 company has increased by 0.1%. However, when you look at the days on market, that's a big selling point as well, or a big talking point. And when you look at the number of producing agents that go through, that's again a big thing. Here, hold on, Doug.
And I don't know how many people have heard either, though, that we got a big builder this last month. Cronkite switched over to Keller Williams. So that was $40 million that was Murney last year that will be this year here. So that's an $80 million swing. No, it's Drew Beatty.
He recently got licensed, but he's a very efficient young man.
He was the builder for Blake Cantrell. And so now Drew Beatty is with Cronkite there. He's going to be the agent for Cronkite, and they've come over. There's Mike, Lindy, Cronkite came over. Then we have Drew Beatty. Then we have Linda, who's also joining. And so they have an offsite location, but their biggest thing is they're wanting to come in and do more trainings on new builds and what that looks like.
And we're very excited to incorporate their new builds and being able to showcase those within our office. It was a big selling point for them, was to be able to give you guys all the heads up about what they're building next. Their goals, they did 250 units, I think, last year. They want to do over 300 this year. Then next year, they want to do 500. And then eventually in their 5-year goal is to do over 1,000 homes a year.
So it's funny, when we were talking to them, I said, why Keller Williams? You have the building thing figured out. So why are you coming over here, if we're being honest? And they said it's the opportunity to network with all of our agents. And they see the growth and trajectory Keller Williams can provide, and the resources from KWRI about the new builds. Because when we talk about divisions, luxury, commercial, Keller Williams is coming with a new homes division. So that's something that they can easily tag into. But they're wanting to get more involved and meet more of our agents and show what they can provide, and with those kind of goals.
Yeah, having them speak at a team meeting, once a month, something like that, having them be able to do a training in this training center, that was huge for them. I mean, we're really excited to have them a part of us, and with their goals, I mean, I can't wait to help them achieve that, and for them to experience what KW really offers. And the size, I mean, they looked at our referral network, they looked at their ability to push things out through KW, and it's powerful.
Yeah, great mention, Doug. Okay. Last thing. Numbers. Yay. Okay, so balance sheet. The first thing you see is an action required on our accounts receivable. So our accounts receivable, according to KWI, should be 0 at the end of every month when we transmit. However, that number is higher due to an MSA partnership and getting payments for that. So they had switched compliance companies, some other documents were needed. So that's where a large chunk of it is. We're not seeing any agents that are having large outstanding balances. So for those of you that don't know, our policy is after 90 days, if you haven't paid, it's going to be multiple phone calls, multiple emails, tied in with the broker, and then your license would get sent back to the state if you failure of non-payment. Obviously, we're going to work with them if possible, but if we're not getting a response for them, that's kind of the protocol. We look item by line item every month to see who those agents are. Nicole is normally the one who calls all the agents. She's really good at getting people's money. Right up her alley.
She's fierce.
Talk to Casey Cooper.
Oh.
But yeah, so we're really making sure that our agents are staying on top. And again, it's educating them again. So when we have board dues coming up, that's going to be a large expense coming to their bottom line. Next thing over, when we flip to the back of the balance sheet, Springfield Cares, we have 5,300 in that account right now. So again, if you know of any agents that are needing any assistance, please let us know. We would love as an ALC to discuss that and how do we always build up our reserves. I believe Paulina and Kim are actually going to go and shoot another Red Day recap video at the Connecting Grounds because they have their washers and dryers. And so we're going to do a recap video of what we were able to provide. And they are just over the moon about that. Yes, Elise, here's a mic for you behind you.
Springfield Cares, is that only for active agents or is it for somebody that may be in the referral company?
I think it would be based on ALC voting if we're going to approve that or not.
Jeff Broussard Sims just had open heart surgery and he's off work. He does have a full-time job with CASA. He's off work for 6 to 8 weeks. So it might be something to consider.
Yeah.
But he's in referral. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. If you just want to send an email out, or we can kind of send an email out to figure out how much and all of that, we can definitely go from there. All right.
One of my fellow team leaders did a cool thing with their local KW Cares, and they set up meal plans for anybody that had that kind of a situation. So it was a cheaper option, but it showed a lot of love. So maybe we can look at doing something like that in the future. Meal plans can really just ease a lot of the family, and when you bless the family, you get a lot of exposure for that.
And as ALC, you guys are our eyes and our ears. So if you hear or see anything of an agent that is struggling, or if they're going through something, please bring it to our attention because we may not see it or we may not know. So the more cognizant we can be about the situations, the more we want to help for sure. Okay. Other than that, that's all I had for those specific.
One other idea for the local KW Cares was, had we ever considered doing, like, if there was somebody that really wanted to go to Bold and we'd already sponsored somebody, had we ever looked at doing that where we sponsored somebody to go to Bold?
We have the payment plans.
Plans,
Yeah.
right.
And so then that was a conversation. Yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay,
Later.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, and then so other things we wanted to hit on was upcoming events. Obviously, we know Bold is coming up October 12th. October 21st is our ALC Wealth Building Dinner. So for those of you, that's where I sent a calendar invite out. We're going to get a restaurant. Dan wants to come in. He's going to pay for all the food. Everyone will be responsible for their own alcohol, and he just wants to pour back into the ALC. And so we'll have a location for that, but it is October 21st. It will be after the Fiction at the Frisco. Wow, it's a lot of F's. Because I know like Paulina will be there. And so if you guys are attending that and going to be a little bit late, that's fine. Yeah, that'll be 4 to 6. Okay, perfect. Yep. And the Market Center has a lot of events between now and the end of the year as far as social and training. So make sure you're just aware of all of those. We do have a flyer, like a 1-page sheet of all those events that we can share out again. And just, we would love for you guys to be there. And trunk or treat, Thanksgiving potluck, holiday party, business planning clinic. And then the business planning clinic, we're having one here. And then Gene Rivers is doing one on KW Connect. If you haven't heard Gene Rivers speak, highly recommend. It's 2 days from 12 to 4, October 20th and 21st, I believe. And he'll go over everything that we'll cover at our own local business planning clinic.
I call him Mini Gary.
Let's get Gene back.
I wish.
Yeah.
I wish. Yeah.
I don't think he's traveling as much right now.
No, he's not. It's interesting. We're also having a business planning clinic within the region with Gene as well. And it's a separate thing. And he was supposed to come in person and then he said, no, he wanted to do it Zoom. So yeah, I think it's just based on where you're living and if they're wanting to travel or not. So, Okay, other than that, we'll finish out the rest of the meeting with committee updates.
Yeah, so let's kind of go around for committees, kind of talk through how it's gone since the last ALC meeting and just kind of see if there is anything in the works for between now and next. Yes, Elise, why don't you kick it off?
So my partner in crimes are not here.
Ah,
And with Springfield Public Schools and the way they've changed their start times, I was not able to make it to our last finance meeting. So Rachel, I think you were there.
I was out. Dan was there. And so was Landon. So from what I heard of the meeting, Dan just walked them through the financial statement again, or specific points of it. That was when I was out.
Okay. So I'm sorry that I don't have anything else to update. On that, we will have another meeting in October, and I don't know the date yet. And we're gonna have to work on adjusting the time to fit my schedule. That sounds really bad
okay, because of the change.
because of the change of the school start times. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Culture committee, Kim's at home sick,
Yep.
but we are gonna do the video at the connecting grounds. So that's something that we are working on right now.
I'd love to be there for that if I can.
Okay,
If you just let me know. I forget when you said it was.
we don't have a time yet.
I think it's probably, I don't know. I think we're just doing pictures, right? We're not doing a video on site, or what were we?
We can
Okay.
do either or. We haven't.
It's no big deal.
Yeah. So
But I'd love
pictures
to
or
see
like
if
a
I can
little
make that.
recap video. I think we can do both. I think a video would be cool. Also, we are partnering with Brian Fisher for the Veterans Day Breakfast, which is that on November 11th.
So great.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
We don't have all the details yet, but he has recently joined like a veterans,
Yep.
huh? Yes. So we're going to partner with him to he approached us and said, you guys are in charge of culture. Can you help me with this? And we thought it would be amazing to do something like that. So we'll have more details about that after we get everything figured out.
And man, with Mega Camp and what they're showing about the whole veteran movement within
Mhm.
KW, the KW vets, I think they call it, right? That is something I want to talk with him more about. It's been on my schedule to meet with
So
him. but-
he's been reached out to. They do
Right.
have a committee, and he's kind of leading that for our market center. I think we are doing breakfast there, and then there's something
Yes.
we're doing afterwards too. So he wanted to have it so we could do an activity as well compared to just a breakfast.
Mhm. So the breakfast will not be here at the market center. It's actually going to be offsite, but
At
Very
the
cool.
VFW.
Very cool. Sir.
I'm not sitting next to my committee partner, but our last meeting was 2 weeks ago. We had another meeting with Zach and had probably 15 of our agents join us.
So cool.
I think we had an agent from another brokerage here as well, or another company. She wasn't a real estate agent, but she came with a friend. So it's kind of cool to see. We're opening it up to other agents, other brokerages. I don't really care if you're a real estate agent or not. Just anybody who's interested in it, if you're connected with them. But Amy had a great idea. We're doing a like a net worth tracker. It's super anonymous, but we're asking all of them to, through this class, how their net worth has grown. So like to give us our information or to give us their information on either what they've done through paying off debt, investing, whether it be 401k, real estate, whatever it may be. And then obviously, just their building through Keller Williams as well and through their agent relationships. So I think it's going really well. I think people are finding a lot of value in that. And then I think Amy spoke with a few of our or one of our agents about multifamily units that he was buying or trying to buy and going through that. So we're doing a lot of that stuff as well. I guess more advising would be the way to say for people who are new to investing. So it's been really cool to see that side of it and have that kind of communication with them. It's going really well in my opinion.
So
think-
great.
How are they submitting their net worth to you?
So at the last meeting, we asked them to write on a piece of paper without their name on the top. This was just kind of an anonymous way of collaboratively gathering the entire group data. And we asked for 3 different metrics. We asked for debt reduction. We asked for cash flow increase and net worth increase. And that if they knew those numbers, if they could get those turned into us, we wanted to make a compilation for the entire group because we want to be able to announce at our next meeting, as a result of participating in this group, here are the numbers that have grown.
Love that.
And there's nothing insignificant. Like every dollar that you know you've experienced as a result of growing and being a part of this group and being a part of the energy in the room, we want to hear about it. So I only
Telling a
got,
story, is it not?
it
That's
is,
totally telling the story.
it is. And if we have all of those numbers from people, how powerful is it to be able to go on social media and say, hey, look, as a whole,
Yeah.
our wealth building group meets here, you know, we meet once a month and we have really high-minded conversations about investing, and we help advise each other and we help lift each other up. And our group's net worth has increased by X.
Right.
Who else wants to be a part of this? Are you part of a brokerage that helps you grow your net worth?
Yeah.
Most people
Yeah.
are not, you know, so then that moves us to profit share and conversations about where people need to be if they're truly serious about building wealth and not having to work forever in a 9 to 5, right? But I'm still missing a lot of numbers. So if any of you have even been to one meeting, and if you've taken away something that's helped you grow your net worth in any way, those are the 3 metrics we're looking for: is cash flow, debt reduction, and net worth increase.
Love it. Super cool.
And you don't have to put your name on it.
Take it back to Carrie back there.
Elise isn't here because of her little baby, but no, we did the that sheet that was supposed to be sent to the market center. I sent it to her to review, and I can't remember if I sent it to the market center or not. She's just been so preoccupied with so many other things. I haven't had a response to her, but I can go ahead and just send that to you guys so you guys can add that and implement that in your onboarding.
Great. Wonderful.
All right, so
All right, here we go.
Yes.
Equity Committee did a survey in the last couple weeks. So I printed off just the graphs from that. If you guys want to pass that around. We asked about several things. Only really a couple of questions were related to the Equity Committee, but we thought that we would take that time to kind of get the vital signs or the pulse of the market center.
Love it.
I'll be sending you a link to the data. It was mostly an anonymous survey. We had a roster of, I think, 465 emails. We got 18% response. So I forget what that number is. I think 85.
84.
Yep.
85 responses. So for the equity portion of it, which is, what was the question? Has there been any racial discrimination or inequality you have witnessed or heard about in relation to our KW community this year, 2021? So pretty much, where's the graph? We had
76% no, 12.2% just secondhand.
correct.
Oh, yes.
89.
Oh.
We're on the
Oh,
first.
sorry.
89.2.
I'm sorry, my bad.
So we had 2 questions. We had in our market center, because we want to look, do we have a problem in-house? And then our second question, is there a problem in our community or in our real estate community? So in-house, we had 89% said no or yes, that there's no inequality, and then 76% in our community. So in-house, really good response. There's a few outliers in there. You can kind of see what they had said, but all in all, not a big issue in-house. The link to the rest of the data kind of goes over the different questions that were asked that can help, I guess, enlighten why people join KW, what's the positives about joining KW, and then what's kind of the negatives. So I've shared the results with leadership, but everybody else here in the ALC will get an email that has the link. It was mostly anonymous, so I just removed everybody's names, so it's still anonymous, but you can get an idea for what people
When
think.
did you fill this out and put your own name in there? The best parts of being at KW, someone responded saying Wimo. Is that you?
No,
Love it.
That was
I
actually,
want to present this that
that-
I am the best part of being
Right.
an AW.
yeah,
Thanks,
there was
Wham.
only one. So yeah, no, that was actually Brian Stone. So,
Oh,
which
funny.
I gave him some honey for that
I
comment. So
like
yeah.
it.
Well, if I knew that's what I had to do. to
Yeah,
win.
yeah, I know. Well,
Wanna get some honey?
Well.
Come
Yep.
on.
I wanted it to be authentic.
Okay,
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for putting this together.
Yeah, yeah.
This was really, really.
So a lot of
helpful.
data in there, a lot of comments. Some of them are duplicates. You know, why they chose a career in real estate was really interesting. So
So from this, especially the first two questions we covered, the racial discrimination in our brokerage and in the local board, what do you guys think would be the best way to either continue or increase this percentage of a no as far as experiencing it? Is it more training or education? What would we have to do to make the answer for racial discrimination within the market center to be a
100%.
no 100%?
yeah, the answers weren't, there was only like one or two that was, they were all individual.
Yeah.
So there wasn't like a common theme or anything like that.
Okay.
So
Well, and technically, there's, happy to report none that I'm aware of this year was a green. So technically, that wasn't included in the 89%.
right,
So
right. So it's some of that it's probably better than what it actually is.
Mhm.
So
Elise? Oh,
On, I guess, the first page, the second graph down, it says we have a lack of racial diversity. And I think that's supposed to say in our market center,
In our leadership team,
in our, oh,
that's what someone responded.
in our leadership team. Well, my question was, if it was in our market center, my question was, do we have numbers? Because Springfield is not a very diverse place and hasn't been a very diverse place traditionally. And I know it's changing, but how did our numbers with diversity in our market center correspond to the diversity numbers in Springfield?
yeah, that's a really good point, though.
I think it's improving. It is improving. I was the only Latino 4 years ago, and now there's competition.
I remember when Liliana said that, she was like, I was the only one and now I am not. Yes.
5 years ago, I was the only agent in Springfield that would speak Spanish with a client. 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, I know. And my Spanish is horrible. Thank God for Liliana.
That is so funny. Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you guys. For
And I'm working with Misty within our office to do she runs a great little group. I want to say little, there's about 30 to 40 young adults in this group that she runs once a month, and all minority based mainly. And so I'm looking at possibly doing a quantum leap for them in their group to potentially, increase more investing mindset, increase better awareness about what's possible rather than, them just staying in the normal channels of school. It's like, let's break into a group that is a smaller group in our community. So it's going to be cool. All right.
Perfect. So I know Doug and I have been working on a couple different things. I've pulled together a group of like 3 or 4 agents that we've pulled over from other market centers, and I've created videos. I'm still editing them at this time, talking about the differences. It does not name other brokerages. It's just talking about the experience that they've had here, so that I can promote those, show other agents that are at other market centers, like what has changed in these agents that have come over in their business, in their personal lives, their finances, kind of encompassing everything.
I love that.
And so, go ahead.
All right, clarifying question. Market centers or brokerages?
Brokerages.
Okay, just want to make sure. I didn't know.
Brokerages.
Because I mean, that's true for other market centers. Every market center is
Right.
different what they provide, so I just didn't know.
Brokerages, that's my
Okay, cool.
apologies.
No, you're
So just ones that we pull over from other brokerages and just having them highlight what the change in the experience has been like, so that when I am meeting with other agents, and if anybody wants to share these videos, they can see what has changed for others.
Love it.
And then I've also completed those referral contracts that we talked about.
Okay, yeah. So one thing that I had created a while back, I might have shared it and or talked to some of you about it, but it's basically it looks just like a contract, like as if you were to receive a buyer, an offer. So it's an offer letter, looks just like a Missouri contract, but all the verbiage has been changed some, or not some, but every line of it is completely different. That basically walks them through where they're at in their current business, what makes it different from where they are versus what it would look like to come with us. I think I shared it. Did you actually look at it at all yesterday? Okay. So it's just really, really cool little document that really exposes everything that's currently happening for them and what it could look like with us in a very fun way. And I got at least, I think I sent it out to probably 200 people when I had originally kind of gone through it. I plan on doing that again with some of our top agents, especially on our target lists that I got from a lot of you, and basically submitting them an offer. And then they can, it really directs them to start the conversation that we haven't necessarily had yet. So you said you're almost done with them? Okay. Oh, okay. So the next ALC meeting, I want to go through that with you guys, and then we're going to be purposeful about who we're going to send those to, which would be really fun. So love that. All right, go ahead.
Just a reminder to everyone that's on ALC that if you recruit a capper, there's a diminishing cap. It's $5,000 off your cap. I've got 2 this year already, so it's $10,000 worth of real money.
It's
And
basically closing 2 more deals.
yeah. So,
That's
I
what
mean,
that is.
and to me, I'm really working to try to get 2 more before December when my cap resets, just because I want it to be 0. So, but just something to remember when it's out there. If it's that's a easy, not really an easy 5,000, but just an extra. Plus, you get the profit share from it. So it's probably, you know, $2 grand a year, 2,500 a year.
Well, and to give you huge gratitude from me, you've been one of our top people on the ALC that's come to me with a potential capping recruit, and we've brought them in. So everybody, I want you to think about if you had somebody, I mean, we had a couple people bring people to a Quantum Leap, for example, capping agents that could join us, which is very exciting. It looks like they are going to from Quantum Leap. So I would love to grow your downline. That's one of the great things about the ALC is I'm going to pinpoint and target whoever you want me to do. So love that. Yes, Pauline. For the year.
No.
Just for that year.
Oh, just for
that year. Yep. She's like, thanks for making it not as cool. Okay.
Tech committee update. We have some plans, and not a whole lot has changed since last time we met. With one of the big things is I do want us to kind of reconvene, kind of hearing how close we are on the smart plans, and one of our focuses has been kind of in that area. So we'll kind of share some more information. We've been looking at that instead of trying to recreate at first we were trying to recreate training classes. And really, the more we kind of discussed it, we're like, the training's there. We need more awareness because people aren't, we have tech committee or tech Tuesday, and it's not a high attended class. So creating and having additional classes isn't necessarily the problem that we have. It's more seeing and knowing what's available and understanding the ease at which some of it is to implement.
Like it. I had actually thought of something recently for tech committee, which was we used to have these fake dollars, and they had our OP's face on them. We called them OP bucks or something like that. I forget exactly what we called them, but we literally would hand them out. If they had entered a certain number of people into their database, into command, then they got dollars and they could spend it via the office. So it was a kind of a cool little thing where it was like their agent billing, or it was for signs, or they could use those dollars as a way, like a functionary, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of a cool idea that we did about 2 years ago that was really fun. So because that's the thing, if we increase the involvement with smart plans as a tech committee, if that was the main goal, that would be huge.
I believe that's already a video though in Keller College, and we have Keller credits. So if people finish our whole Keller College library, they get up to $600 back on their agent billing. So
For their first year.
once you complete it, yeah. So and Smart Plans is already tied into that. So we could tie in like showing us how many you do, and then it could be tied in with it.
That'd be cool. Okay.
Good.
Productivity is not productive this go around. part of it is I had COVID, my family had COVID, and we were out for 2.5 weeks. So bear with me on that. But no, part of it is we are looking to probably have another mastermind group of what we initially call the messy middle. And it's really just setting a date and a time and a place for that is really where we're going.
So messy middle or top 20?
Well, we got to with the other part with Tim, we do the top 10. And then we're going to do the messy middle. We're moving on up or whatever we want to call it for the other one.
A motivated middle. I like that. That's way easier. I
Why
like
don't
that.
we talk, because we're gonna do an individual agent mastermind, and that's gonna be primarily the meaty messy middle. And that's already scheduled for October. So let's chat about that, what we could talk about during that, and then we could go off of that.
Cool. Okay. So, I mean, like the one that's happening right after this, which is why we didn't change the seating, was we've got, Gary, Mo, a bunch of people doing this big one. That's kind of like that. And so we've kind of tapped into some of those, but attendance is always one of the hardest pieces of it all. It really is. Yeah, it's very frustrating.
We'll get that down.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that had sparked, so I'm going through MAPS Red Shirt coaching right now. And so they're bringing in a lot of the videos through what they provided. So the first one is the tech audit. So when you're talking to agents in the market center, evaluating what tech they're using and how KW Command can plug into that. There's also the 30-30-40 model of compensation. So that's a great conversation to have, and the organizational chart of figuring out where their next need is for hiring and having a prescription to help alleviate that. One of the biggest ahas is we could have cappers in our market center that probably take home less than $10,000 a year after taxes, splits, expenses, all of that. So what would have to happen, or how does that make those conversations easier? Recognizing that and breaking that down and seeing, okay, if we could bring them to KW and we were able to help them sell 2 more houses, how would that change their life? For you guys that don't or not joining us during Leadership Fundamentals, we actually broke it down this last Monday. And an average capper, let's say they're bringing home $75,000 GCI. The net of that is little to nothing when you factor insurance expenses. And even if they're paying for leads, that's another, splits, taxes, all of that. So I think it makes those conversations a little bit easier. And the 30-30, it's called 30-30-40 consultative conversation. Breaks it down. It's 25 minutes with Jason Abrams on the whiteboard, and it's probably one of the most eye-opening conversations. So easily would do it. The 30 is 30% expenses, 30% cost of sales, 40% profit. So when an agent tells you I'm making this much in GCI, factor 40% of that. And it could be, depending on where they're at, could be higher or lower. Not a lot of people are getting to that 40%. Individuals, their cost of sales is probably lower than that. So it just depends on where they're at with that. I'll be happy to share that video. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I mean, that 40% doesn't even include taxes, right? So that's where literally we were doing the numbers, and it broke down, like she said, from $75,000 GCI, I believe, down to really what they're netting is $12,000. So that just really is shocking and sad to see that even if they're quote unquote a capper, we like to be like, oh, they're a capper. It's like, yeah, well, unless they've got another income somehow their way, it's probably not looking good for their ability to stay in the business unless it grows.
Okay. Anything else? We're a little bit over time, so we want to make sure we're respecting your time.
Yep.
Yes, Paulina? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure everybody has a person that they call, but if you ever need a back. Reliable on time.
Thank you for that heads up. Thank you so much, you guys. We appreciate your commitment. We appreciate your efforts and time. If you need, I would love to schedule some time between now and next ALC meeting, one-on-ones with you to hopefully figure out a way to get you to the next level. All right? Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it, Sam.